And good evening, baseball fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that was sports. We had opening day and opening weekend, so lots of exciting baseball this past weekend, lots to talk about. And of course, joining me, as has been the consistent case for the last few episodes, are our co-host here of the Bullpen Bulletin, also the co-host of the neutral zone. Of course, Rampant still in the heat of hockey season. It will, ironically, that was an unintentional pun. Don't worry about it. But if you're a fan of the network, you see him all over the place. It is Freddie B. Good evening,
Hey,
sir. How are you doing?
hey, Mike. Yeah, man, you're right that the action on the ice is on fire right now. It is heating up.
Yeah, yep, it's heating up. The ice, they're going to be playing
Yeah,
on lake soon. All
but
right.
no, man. Yeah, so nice to have baseball back, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Nice contrast for you, right? You've got the warm weather sport of baseball, and then the frozen tundra sport of hockey. You've got both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it was an interesting week to say the least. Here to start the MLB season, a few
Yep.
surprises,
Yeah.
a few things that didn't surprise me, and some new up and coming stars to keep an eye out around the league as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely. And we're going to dive into all of it. But first, of course, if you're a fan of the show or a fan of the network, please do follow us on X. You can follow yours truly at IESR_DMV. And you can follow Freddie at FreddieB_sports, talking all things sports between the two of us. Before we really dive in this past weekend, though, of course, we do have live baseball. No matter what night of the week you go live, you're going to have some live baseball, unless you do Sunday, in which case you only have to worry about Sunday night baseball. But tonight we've got some good action. First, we do have two finals already in the books from earlier today. We had the Royals beating the Twins 3-1. Chris Bubich coming away with the win in that one for the Royals. We had the Reds shutting out the Pirates behind Chase Burns, the youngster. Speaking of potential young stars to watch
Yep.
this year, he could be on the list for sure. They took that one 2-0. The Pirates sure had an interesting opening weekend. I think you would agree with that,
Yes,
Freddie.
sir.
Did you see some of those highlights in those
You know what?
games?
I was working on Thursday. Season started no Friday. I don't
Thursday,
remember what
Thursday,
day. What day did the season start for everybody else?
Thursday,
Thursday.
basically for
So
everybody.
yeah, I had my prop picks going early that day. I had Paul Skeens on an easy, over 2.5 strikeouts the first 3 innings. And I'm looking at the stats and I'm like, okay, he's got 2 in the first inning. Oh, he's going to hit. And then he got shelled. And it just so happened that we talked about the Pittsburgh Pirates being the worst outfield in baseball, and they didn't disappoint at all.
Nope, they showed up
They
that
did.
first night for sure. Or more specifically, O'Neill Cruz showed up.
Yeah,
But in
O'Neill
any case,
Cruz. Yeah.
we won't rag on the man too much. He's had a really rough last few days. We won't pile on there. So those were the two finals. We've got some action going. We've got Rangers leading the Orioles 4-2, top of the ninth. The Rangers threatening to tack on a little bit to their lead there. Runners on first and third. We've got the Nationals, if you want to talk about surprising starts to the season, beating the Phillies 9-2. That
Mhm.
game in the bottom of the eighth. We've got, let's see, going around, we've got the White Sox beating the Marlins 9-4. That one entering the bottom of the ninth. So the White Sox chance to pick up their first win of the season after getting swept. We've got the Rockies beating the Blue Jays. We're just throwing things at the dartboard tonight from the looks of it.
Exactly.
7-1. That one in the top of the sixth. We've got the Braves beating the Athletics. That one 3-0. End of the seventh. We've got the Cubs beating the Angels 6-0. That one at the end of the fifth. Sorry, I'm not used to having this many Monday night games. I'm running out of breath here. We've
Oh, yeah.
got the Brewers leading the Rays 2-1. That one in the bottom of the sixth. The Mets leading the Cardinals 3-1 in the sixth, and the Astros are beating the Red Sox 3-0. That one in the fifth inning here. Later on tonight, we've got Yankees Mariners out on the West Coast. We've got Giants Padres and a little NL West action. We've got Guardians and Dodgers, and then Tigers and Diamondbacks to finish it off. So, not a normal Monday night slate there, a lot more extensive, I feel, than typical. But either way, some great action for the
extremely busy Monday. And
any looking of those results standing out to you so far, Freddie?
Well, it looks like as of right now that the Milwaukee Brewers stand to be the only team remaining undefeated if they can hold on and win. They're up 2-1, like you said, in the 6th right now over Tampa Bay. Blue Jays started off 3-0. They're now getting blown out by the Rockies at home. I didn't expect that to happen. And the Marlins also getting blown out at home. They started winning their homestand as well. Tonight's games, I haven't really taken a look stat-wise as to what has transpired or not. But a team that I am focusing on right now, and we talked about it, we both had them, I think, either to win or come in second place in that NL East, was the Mets. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the reception Bo Bichette's receiving right now? He's getting boos, man.
I was gonna say, I can't imagine it's been great. I know he's had a couple of errant plays to start, and that New York crowd, the little things go wrong, they're not gonna wait to jump on you about it.
Yeah, good thing for him though, he does have a hit and 2 RBIs tonight. So, and they're on the road, so Mets fans, they do travel well. But I'm sure he's not hearing the boos in St. Louis tonight. So that was kind of a surprise because I was kind of a person I thought was going to have a breakout season. In that, a couple other things that really stood out to me, and I'm looking forward to his game tonight. He doesn't have a homer, but that was Murakami of the White Sox. Homering in 3 straight games to start the season. Luke Raley did the same thing for the Mariners, homering in his first 3 games of the season as well. Those guys off to flying starts. Other than that, not a whole heck of a lot right now as far as action goes. I mean, the Angels losing to the Cubs 6-0. I think the Angels already reached their win total for the month of March, obviously, but
probably
with 2. Surprising starts, and Trout homering in both of those games. Zach Neto doing well defensively. He's driving in runs. If he could just get his average up, that's what the Angels could really use. He can't be hitting 200 with that lineup right there. I did watch some of the late games over the course of the week, the Padres and the Tigers series, a little bit of the Dodgers series, and I really focused as well on the Mariners and Guardians. That was a really good series as well. 4-game series, and they split 2 apiece.
That was a really good one. And I think that's a great segue to get into some of our highlights from this past weekend. Obviously, opening weekend, everybody played. I can't say I was a huge fan of the everybody start on Thursday and then half of everyone's off on Friday. That was a little bit of a strange scheduling maneuver there, but it is what it is, and we survived. Lots of results that I think, people would have expected. Some results I think were a little bit more surprising. So since Freddie gave some of his thoughts, I'm going to point out a team that I thought had a great weekend, and it pains me to say it, but the Yankees, I thought had a stellar opening weekend, going into San Francisco against the Giants, sweeping the Giants, but more impressively, giving up 1 run in 3 games. Outstanding pitching performance by them. Fried was very in control in that opening game that I actually got to watch because it was on Netflix, and I have a Netflix account. Woohoo. Logan Webb, unfortunately, got dinged pretty hard in that first game, although some of it was a little bit of bad luck. A couple of defensive miscues I felt as well. But also some of it was the Yankees, after 1 round through the order, started to kind of get them teed up really well. So overall, great series for the Yankees. Great start for them. Probably the most impressive sweep, I would say, of this weekend. No offense to Toronto. No, I was not impressed that you swept the Athletics. The Dodgers, I expect you to win a lot of games. So, yeah, you swept the Diamondbacks. Good for you. The Brewers sweeping the White Sox again. Woohoo. And then the Marlins sweeping the Rockies. Yeah, no, you're not doing anything for me there. So I would say the
Yankees
Yankees
definitely.
had the best sweep.
They're up for a really good series starting tonight in Seattle. Seattle, I think, we both talked about as our World Series a favorite coming out of the American League to win the pennant. This could be a potential, ALCS showdown on March 31st, right? Both teams, fantastic pitching. I really like Seattle's pitching. They shut down the Indians. I'm sorry, the Guardians.
Hey, there we
Especially
go.
last night
We need
with
to have a
Hancock.
running tally, Indians, Guardians, slip ups, because
Right.
I'm going to do it too over the course of the season.
I was thinking in my head, don't say it, and sure enough, I do. But speaking of the Guardians, real quick, did you see the weekend that Chase DeLauder had?
Yes, very impressive from him. Knocking a couple home runs. Little bit exciting though. I think he had some adventures in the outfield. I noticed as well. In fact, that seemed to be a common theme across the league. I know a couple of Orioles had some interesting moments in the outfield. I know Adolis Garcia of the Phillies, he had an awkward moment in the outfield. Some of the usual suspects, however, playing. I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong, I think, already has like 1.5 outs above average or something already through one series in center field or something ridiculous like that. So he's already off to a great start.
Yeah. There were some blunders, some mistakes, definitely in the defensive side of things, especially Jake Berger. Did you see the 2 dropped pop flies he had in this game? One of them was he was playing first base. He drops a pop fly. This is all with 2 outs, I believe, in the 9th over the Phillies, and he drops the first one. Then he dropped another one.
Right. He had the drop foul that immediately led to the tying runs. Yes, I remember. Yeah,
it was an 0-2 count, and the Phillies were down at the time in the 9th inning, and then he drops another pop up right at the mound, and that just steamballed, and Phillies go from being dead to forcing extra innings, ultimately losing. But there was a really good video out there if you can find it. The guy breaks down. He had the under 7.5 runs, and I think it was 3-0
or 3-0 in the bottom of the 9th. Yeah.
And what a way to lose. You talk about heartbreakers. Jeez. You thought that was bad with the Duke loss in men's basketball, but that's a horrible loss in baseball.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. Did any other teams stand out to you over the weekend with their performance?
I think the Tigers are going to be really good still. They took 2 out of 3 against my Padres. Padres actually could have won that second game of the series, but Tariq Skubal was absolutely dealing on opening day. And him and Fomber both going to be a good duo together for the Tigers. And, offensively as well, we're seeing stuff out of them that I didn't expect to see, especially this early in the season. But yeah, really, I mean, a lot of good baseball, man. It's just nice to have it back and have it meaningful again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. And, one of the things I really like about these early games is that, everybody's still in it. Like, one of the things that, we learned kind of through the first season of Bullpen Bulletin is you get down to like the late July, early August series, and some of the series start to not mean anything.
Like, exactly.
We've got the White Sox and the Twins playing this weekend. All right, you can count on one hand how many people care about that game, or like
exactly.
You get some of these playoff teams playing like, oh, the Dodgers get the Rockies. Well, that's a sweep. All right, check, moving on. So I like that all of the games, like you said, that meaningful baseball, all of these games still mean something because nobody except maybe the Rockies are truly out of it already in the season.
Yeah, we'll see. Another guy that I did wanted to mention on the Tigers that had a really stellar start to his season was Kevin McGonigal.
Yes, the
Really
rookie top
good.
prospect.
Yeah, really. He looked good out there. He looked like he belonged. Um, I like I said, I like that Tigers team a lot. Yeah, more than I thought coming into the season after watching them play a few games. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Those third jerseys that they wore, dark blue tops with orange, font and orange on the sleeves. It was almost like late '80s, early '90s kind of Detroit Tigers. It looked really sharp with the gray pants and everything like that. So I did like that they brought that back.
Yeah, no, I love me a good classic
You
jersey
got to look
for there.
good, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, McConaughey did do well. One individual guy who I thought had a really strong start, and somebody who I was pretty impressed with was and oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name for the Nationals. He's still hitting very well. Joey Weimer, out
Yeah.
for the Nationals, 6 for 6 in his first 2 games. With multiple walks, he did finally get out tonight, so his hit streak, his on base streak ended. I think it was 10 at bats, but he was absolutely crushing it. So that was a true surprise um, performance there. I also thought Giancarlo Stanton got off to a really solid start. I think we were
Yes.
talking about the Yankees lineup. He was one of the catalysts for their offensive production, particularly in the first game. So I thought he was off to a great start.
He was.
Brandon Lowe for Pittsburgh off to a hot start. I think he had a 2 home run game. And then for pitchers, Kevin Gausman had a really good start. His first start I was impressed with. Trevor
Mhm.
Rogers for the Orioles had a 7 inning shutout, keeping up with his performance from last year to end the
Right.
season. So he's going to be a key player to watch as well. So um,
What about Dylan
oh,
Cease? He pitched a great game the other day for
yeah,
the Blue Jays. Went
Dylan
5 and a
Cease.
third with 12 strikeouts.
Yeah, 12 of his 16 outs as strikeouts. That was pretty impressive. I did want to get your thoughts on one thing. Now, this was that we noticed this last year as well, and it
Mhm.
seemed to be another recurring theme is early season, rather limited pitch counts across the league. And we kind of saw it ease up, and teams starting to have a little bit longer leash as the
Right.
season went on. But I don't know, and you can correct me wrong if you saw it. I don't know if I saw a single pitcher get to triple digit pitches.
Oh, no. Not this early in the season. Not unless we were in line for a no hitter or something like that potentially. I mean,
Mhm.
Emerson Hancock last night went 6 no hit innings for Seattle, but again, that was his pitch count was high. Yeah, you don't want to blow an arm out this early in the season, especially when pitching is so valuable, especially good starting pitching. And your aces and your top of the line rotation guys are starting this season. I don't expect them to go deep. I mean, Skubal went 6 innings. They had a big lead. He could have pitched a complete game and shut out the Padres, but
Mhm.
they're just trying to save arms at this point. Garrett Crochet, another guy who looked really good in his outing as well. I see. I would think, as the season progresses, maybe 2 or 3 starts from some of these guys are going to start stretching them a little bit as well. But you don't want to, even have to think about a devastating, Tommy John surgery or a shoulder surgery for one of your pitchers or glutes or something like, glutes, abs, hips, all that kind of stuff. You really can't build on that early in the off season. It's going to take a full season before your body is to where it needs to be.
Right. No, absolutely right. So looking at the numbers, looking at it league wide, there were three pitchers from opening weekend who pitched 7 innings. Nobody went more than 7 innings. It was exactly 7 innings. But those three guys were, as I mentioned, Trevor Rogers of
Mm-hmm.
the Orioles, and interestingly enough, two Marlins pitchers, Sandy Alcantara and Yuri Perez, both went
Right.
7 innings in their two starts as both then, well, Alcantara got a win. Perez got a no decision, but obviously the Marlins won that game because they are still, at least for now, undefeated, which is a weird statement to say. But yeah, there was one moment that had me a bit puzzled. It was in the Orioles game is yesterday. Shane Baz was pitching.
I think I
So
know. Yep.
he was at 77 pitches through the fifth inning. They brought him out for the sixth. He got one out on one pitch, and then they went to the bullpen.
So maybe 80 pitches was kind of his limit. And
but I mean, I was thinking, like, if you're gonna do it, I mean, if you weren't gonna pull him that quickly, just pull him after the fifth. Like, I mean, it felt strange at the time. Maybe there was a reason for it. Maybe they saw something on the pitch they didn't like. But
yeah, it could have been a matchup that it was a hitter that they thought they knew he can get out, and then maybe starting to go to the third time through the lineup I don't know exactly who was up at the time, but that's probably their philosophy. Hey, he got to 80 pitches. He's in line I think he was still in line for the win. Yes. So you have to get, at least complete 5 to be in line for a win. But
actually, no, he was not in the line for the win. They hadn't taken the lead yet, but they didn't take the lead until the 7th. So he would have had to pitch the 7th in order to get the win. So he was not going to get that. But yeah, just fun of those little oddities. And I'm not even questioning them. It's just kind of a funny thing to look at this early in the season, to see guys getting pulled at various points in the game. Any other fun statistical things that you noticed from this past weekend?
Not so much, fun statistical stuff. Like I mentioned, though, it was good. It was a really good sign for baseball to see Mike Trout hitting the ball again. I thought that was fantastic for him. He was also out there. I think he stole a base in one of the games. So the Angels are going to rely upon him heavily. They're not going to be in contention for anything, but you want to see Mike Trout have a good, healthy season and be that star that he used to be. I'm a stickler for pitching. I love good pitching. So I love these matchups that we had early on in the season. Kind of surprised in Nick Pivetta getting kind of tossed around a little bit. The starting two for the Padres, I would have thought they may have gone with Michael King, who pitched a pretty good game the day after until the bullpen self-destructed. But no, I think overall we had a really good start to this season. No significant injuries that I am aware of. And, we're going to get into something a little bit later in the show, which kind of reared its ugly head with the ABS and everything like that. But no, I think I didn't look like attendance numbers wise to see, how attendances were across the league. But I know all 3 games in San Diego were sold out. They'll sell out probably 80 of the 82 this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the Orioles had a sellout opening day, and I think they averaged 28K a game over the weekend. So pretty solid. Not bad. I think their seasonal averages the last year with them tailing off, I think, was around 26. So they're outpacing that, which is pretty good.
Who did well for the Orioles this week?
What'd you say?
Who did well for the Orioles this week?
So Trevor Rogers did really well. Adley Rutschman got off to a really solid start on the season. He had a key hit in the game yesterday that helped break it open, a double that was about maybe that close from clearing the wall in center field. Yeah, so, let it warm up a little bit. Once you get to May, that's over the wall. So, so I'm excited to see his start. Kobe Mayo, one of their young former top prospects, not hitting the ball well, but due to the injuries, now he played third base coming up through the minors. Defense was always a bit of a question mark with him. He had actually moved to first base when he came up last year, but obviously the Orioles signed Pete Alonso, so they don't necessarily need him at first base. But due to the injury to Jordan Westberg, he's actually played third base in every game so far, back to his position, and he has made some highlight worthy plays in there at third base. So he's bringing some good defense there. Gunnar Henderson hit a home run tonight, so his bat was a little cold this weekend, but that'll help him heat up. I think Samuel Basayo, another former top prospect, he's gotten a couple hits. And then two guys who were supposed to start the year as utility players, but are playing due to injury, Jeremiah Jackson and Blaze Alexander, have both had some pretty key hits for the team so far. So lots of different contributors. The studs, Henderson, like I said, hit his first home run, hasn't really done great since. Taylor Ward, their big pickup from the Angels, kind of cold to start.
Yeah.
Kyle Bradish didn't have a great first start to the season, only went 4 2/3 in their loss on Saturday. But yeah, so kind of a mixed bag, but hey, coming out of opening weekend 2-1, I can't complain about that. By the way, you brought up Mike Trout. I looked up his statistics. Currently already leading the league in walks.
Yeah.
Your fun little contribution, and has a 1.573 OPS. So let's cross our fingers that he maintains that over the course
I hope
the season.
so. It really depends on his health. Obviously, you don't want to. He's had that hamstring issue and other leg injuries that have, and his back and everything else. And he's playing center field. He wants to be in center field every night as well. He doesn't want to do any DHing or anything like that. So, yeah, let's just hope he stays healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've caught up on the highlights from this past weekend. Now we are going to look to the week ahead. Obviously, you heard all of the lineup of all of the series that have kicked off with the games that are currently going on tonight. But looking ahead to the weekend, especially, weekend baseball, that's where it's at. That's where everybody gets to, go out, go to the games, things like that. Looking ahead to that, are there any matchups, just taking a quick glance down the list, that have you excited early on in the season?
Yeah, there's a quite a few matchups I think that could have some pretty good games. The Mets and Giants, I think, is going to be a tough series. What are we going to get out of the Giants? They, get swept at home by the Yankees, and now they're playing in San Diego starting tonight. We'll see what happens there. Padres and Red Sox, a good series. Reds and Rangers, that could be good. Cubs and Guardians. I don't know the pitching matchups as of yet on any of these contests. Cardinals kind of off to a surprising start. They're going to be in Detroit. So no like big matches head to head of any series this week. I would like to see, obviously, I'm going to pay my focus on the Padres and see how they do in Boston, because I think Boston is a solid team this year.
Yeah, absolutely. That first game on Friday, King versus Sonny Gray. Kick that one off. So
they'll probably avoid Crochet then.
Let's take a quick look here.
Crochet
Connor
will probably
Early
pitch.
is slated for game 2, and Suarez is slated for game 3. Actually, game 3 is slated to be Suarez versus former Red Sox Walker Buehler.
Walker Buehler's he's towing the bump tonight. I want to see how he does. We can get 5 solid innings out of him.
Fun matchup for sure. Obviously, I'm always excited for the Orioles matchup. Kyle Bradish gets the bump on Friday against Mitch Keller, so I think that'll be a pretty good pitching matchup.
It will.
One, just because of the way they've started the season, I like to see how they cut their teeth against them. The Dodgers and Nationals. Obviously the Dodgers off to the 3-0 start. They're looking really good. Glass now, and apparently currently slated to be Roki Sasaki for the Sunday matchup. So that'll be interesting to see. But, the Nationals 2-1 took 2 of 3 against the Cubs, which is not an easy matchup. And now currently up 13 to the Phillies in the bottom of the 9th, looking to close that one out. So that's, I'm curious to see, the Nationals, see how they ride this hot start. You remember, if you recall last year, they actually got off to a decent start when, James Wood and CJ Abrams were both hot before the midseason scheduled collapses of Jake Irving and Mitchell Parker. And Mackenzie Gore was leading the league in strikeouts through the first 2 months of the season.
Yep.
So,
speaking of
last year, they got off to a great start. We'll see if they continue a great start this year.
Yeah. Speaking of Sasaki, he's pitching tonight against Cleveland, so that's going to be a really good contest. He did not pitch well at all in the spring, and the last show we were on, he got lit up by the Angels in spring training in only 3 innings, I think it was, gave up 4 runs. So I like to see him go against that Indians lineup. If I had to make any predictions for the remaining games tonight, I'm going to say Jose Ramirez hits a home run for Cleveland.
I like that prediction. That is a good prediction. I like that. I didn't have any predictions tonight, but I think I could probably make one up off the fly here. Let's see what we got going. I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of the home run prediction here. I'm gonna say Raleigh and Judge trade some jacks.
Ooh, okay.
Tonight, I'm gonna say we see a little bit of a slugfest between, and I might be more with them. I mean, it is Luis Castillo going for Seattle, so he might help keep it down. Weather's going for the Yankees, and not a pitcher that I admittedly don't know a ton about, but I know he's not Max Fried or Cam Schlittler or
Schlittler, man, what an outing he had. Schlittler pitched really well.
Great outing, for sure, 100%. And by the way, as we noted last year, must enunciate that name very clearly when you are live.
Schlittler. Yeah, big pickup for the Mariners was Brendan Donovan at that leadoff spot. Something that the Mariners really haven't had in a few years is a solid leadoff guy who will get on base with average as well. And then he also had a home run over the weekend, so he can produce some power. Big thing for him. He's also switched over to third base, so just more depth in that Mariners team, which I think, as we get to July and August, they're going to be distancing themselves in the American League West.
Yep, for sure. 100%. We're going to take our break for the evening. When we come back, we are going to check back in on some of these scores. Some of these games have gone final. And then we're going to jump into, of course, our college sports around the diamond. And, of course, we have to begin talking minor league baseball since minor leagues is going to be underway. But do not go away. You are listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we said, quick score update, some finals. The Rangers finished off the Orioles 5-2. We had the Nationals finish their walloping, is the only word I can think of to describe that game against the Phillies, 13-2. We also had the White Sox finish off the Marlins 9-4. The Braves finished off their game against the Athletics 4-0. Ironically, the Athletics fall to 0-4 as they lose 4-0. So that's a fun little one there.
Yeah.
Giants, Padres, and Yankees, Mariners have kicked off. And the only other major change is the Rockies, I guess if you want to call it a major change, now up 13-1 against the Blue Jays there. So really crazy stuff there. I did realize one of the things, you mentioned injuries in the first segment. I didn't see any over the weekend, but Cody Ponce, one of off-season acquisitions for Toronto, he left the game early today. Trying to field a ground ball. He did something. I couldn't quite tell in the replay, but he actually had to be carted off of the field.
Oh, that's not good.
In that one. So probably part of the cause is having to dip into the bullpen in the third inning in that one. Interestingly enough, former Oriole Tomoyuki Sugano took the mound for the Rockies tonight and only gave up 1 run in 4 2/3. So pretty decent outing.
4 2/3. Couldn't get him just that next out. To be in line.
Did not let him get that one more. Must have been. Might have been a match.
It was a 2-1 game at the time too. It wasn't until the 6th inning that the Rockies started pouring on all the runs.
Yeah,
so
really blew it up there. And of course, the irony of ironies is that they bring in the relief pitcher Jaden Hill. He gets the 1 out on 1 pitch, and then is pulled, and it's no longer available. I watch for things like that in games that end up going extra innings in particular, because you got to wonder at some point when you start to get towards guy number 6, guy number 7 in the bullpen, you're like, maybe I should have let that guy throw more than 1 pitch.
That always kind of bothered me too. Like, why waste him for that 1 out? Unless he just wasn't, factoring in to pitch at all that game. maybe extend a middle reliever a little longer or something.
Now, I do remember, and you probably remember as well, Freddie, if you go back maybe about 15 years in the pitching spectrum, teams did have like specialists who would come on to face a particular type of batter,
Oh, yeah.
maybe specifically against a lefty, and those guys would stay in for only one out. However, that was also back in the time when pitchers routinely went 6 or 7 innings and threw 110 to 120 pitches a night. So
yeah,
as the starting pitchers have understandably, given the rise in injuries, been scaled back a little bit, I don't know how much you can necessarily afford to routinely have guys only throw one pitch. But hey, look,
because
if a guy comes out and throws one pitch every game and gets an out, play him 162 games.
Sure, but normally you have that 3 batter minimum that you have to face, but because that was at the end of an inning, he didn't have to meet that requirement for batters faced. So do keep that in mind, though, that when they do bring pitchers in, that they do have to at least face the 3 batters. But in that situation, they're like, hey, you could get one out. Let's just get out of this inning. And then they go on and score a bunch of runs after that. So good on them for that.
Adam Karnick jumping in the chat. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Adam. And I would like to live on air formally gloat about the Nationals beating the Cubs this past weekend. So I've done my gloating. We're good. I don't know. I think the Nationals probably play the Cubs again because typically within the conference they play each other twice. So the Cubs will get a chance at some revenge later on in the season. But now, of course, obviously the major league season is underway, which means and the minor league season is already underway as well. Now, not a ton of updates so far early on.
Right.
So, not a ton of things to report on, not a ton of, extraordinary performances. However, it's always good to look ahead. Some of the, top prospects, if you look at the prospect rankings on, Baseball America or MLB.com, whatever your source is, are already playing in the major leagues. Guys like Kevin McGonigal, who we mentioned earlier, who is the number 2 ranked prospect in all of baseball.
Yep.
He's already up in the major league. So can't really say I'm excited to see him progress through the minors because there will be no progressing through the minors for him. Same with guys like JJ Weatherholt, and I believe at least maybe to immediately start the year, Samuel Basayo was on this list, but I think he graduated already with a couple of starts here. But Freddie, are there any? I'll give you one regular and one homer pick of prospects that you are excited to watch this upcoming season.
Well, he used to be a homer pick because he played right here down the street from where I live in Southern California for Lake Elsinore Storm. Leo DeVries, shortstop for the A's. He was part of that Mason Miller trade, which brought Mason Miller down to San Diego. I think this guy is just another star, shortstop that they had drafted, and I'm looking to see what he can do this year as well. Also, Colt Emerson, shortstop for the Mariners. I think that he's going to have a quick ride up as well and be on the big club before you know it. Those are a couple of the guys that I'm looking at right now. As far as some of the top prospects go, but then we're also seeing guys, like you just mentioned with McGonigal and some of the other players like Weatherholt already making their MLB debuts. Trey Savage, with the Toronto Blue Jays, we saw what he did last year as well. Being a right-handed pitcher, but can also make like a spot start if he needed to. Just a good arm to have right there. Dodgers have some pretty good prospects in the lineup as well. We've only had 3 games in the minor league season up to this point, but
yeah, definitely early in the season. So there, but there lots of opportunities, and some of these guys catch fire and rise through the ranks pretty quickly. The real easy pick of a guy who I'm curious to watch, Connor Griffin of the Pirates, the top prospect in all of baseball. Some people thought maybe he might even jump skip AAA and just jump straight and join the team right out of the spring training. They did not ultimately do that. But based on the way he's been playing, I mean, my goodness, only 19 years old and turns 20 in a month. Maybe they're waiting for him to have his 20th birthday, and then they'll say, "Happy birthday, join us in the big leagues."
Well, yeah.
But he's one to watch. Another one to watch, and it's actually another Pirate. And that's just me being jealous of all of the Pirates hoarding all of the really good prospects. But Seth Hernandez, top 10 pick in the draft last year, was a high school pitcher, live power arm. They already have Skeens, obviously, in the major leagues, and now Bubba Chandler, who's a top 12, top 15. Where is he on the list? I just saw his name. Number 9, the number 9 prospect in all of baseball. He is with the major league team, and we'll see how he does this year. But if Hernandez can progress, reasonably, throughout the year, we could have the makings, as long as they don't, deal Skeens, which I know has been a topic of conversation for them. If they can hold on to Skeens for a couple of years, they could have the makings of a really, really exciting rotation if Hernandez can progress the way Skeens and Chandler have. Now, of course, high school pitcher. It's probably one of the most unpredictable types of prospects to watch progress, but they can also be the most exciting ones to watch progress.
You're also talking about guys that have made good MLB debuts. Sal Stewart, Cincinnati Reds first baseman, really good start to his season right now. He went 8 for 12 in his first 3 games of the season, 3 doubles and a homer. So you like seeing that. Somebody that could be the heir apparent to maybe what Joey Votto was, right? First baseman for Cincinnati is something that they've been longing for, and this could just be the right fit for them.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then for my homer pick, I am going to go with a guy. He's not a well-known name. In fact, I don't know if anybody really outside of Baltimore circles really even knew about him. Nobody really knew about him before last year, but now he has made his way into the top 100. Outfielder Nate George. Nate George was a high school pick, 16th round pick by the Orioles in 2024. Out of high school, they were able to pay him an above slot bonus and get him to commit to skipping college and joining the major league team in his first season. And we talked about him a little bit on the show last year. Through rookie ball, low A and high A, slashed 337, 413, 483.
Wow, that's nice.
Really excellent numbers, and all while having a less than 20% strikeout rate, which is amazing for a kid out of high school to jump in and have a less than 20% strikeout rate.
Oh, yeah.
Stole 50 bases and walked almost as much as he struck out. So this kid, again, that's all in the lower levels. He started the year in high A, but he's quickly made a name for himself. He's still only 19, doesn't turn 20 until June. And by then he might even be in double A, depending on how he starts the season. So he'll be younger than all the guys he's facing. But he is one to watch progress through the minors for sure. And by the way, with Basayo and Dylan Beavers also officially graduating from being prospects, so to speak, he is now the number 1 prospect in the Orioles organization. So
that's great.
There is your name to watch. Adam Karnick, first throwing a little jab in here. See you in October. Oh, wait. Yeah. Whatever.
Oh, gosh.
I know the Nats aren't playing in October. I get it. Anyways, and then he also notes drafted guys are able to play collegiately for hockey. Why not baseball? That's an interesting point. The only reason I could think of is that baseball predates most of the colleges in the league, so in the country. So maybe it's just, and it's probably some old timey rule.
Yeah, I think it has to deal with a lot of them sign a signing bonus.
That is true,
and that prohibits them from playing at the collegiate level. It's not like college basketball or college football where they have the NIL. Unfortunately, where these guys are getting paid the same kind of money. You're better off just going to the minor leagues and trying to do that instead of, working your way through the collegiate ranks. So I think that's why. I think it's because they signed the contract, and then that prohibits them from moving on and playing college baseball.
Yeah, it probably also has to do, maybe baseball and hockey have different, like amateur athletes or professional athlete status
Yeah,
rules, because technically, I mean, if you get drafted and you sign with a team, even if you're a minor leaguer, technically you are now a professional baseball player.
yeah, they own your
So
rights. Yeah,
yeah, so at that point, I imagine there's some type of conflict with being a professional baseball player and then, playing in college, perhaps,
yeah.
could be the conflict
What?
there. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't make the system, so who am I to say?
No,
Speaking of college, actually, that is a great segue there, Adam, because we are now into college baseball. So we had some great matchups this past weekend. I'll point out a couple that stood out to me, and then
sure.
I'll leave the floor for Freddie. But Georgia Tech sweeping a formerly ranked, no longer ranked NC State team. That
Mm-hmm.
was a pretty great one for them. Was it FSU baseball or softball? Florida State baseball taking 2 of 3 from Duke and jumping from 10 to 7 in the rankings was pretty great for them. What are some of the ones that you keyed into over the weekend, Freddie?
I wasn't sure if it was SEC football or SEC baseball. There were some really high scoring games. We had the series between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Those rivals always going at it, and Vanderbilt, unranked, beats and sweeps number 21 Tennessee. So we may see a flip in the rankings when that comes out. Georgia, a nice 3-0 win. Georgia is a team that I think could be a team that could be surprising and possibly win a College World Series this year. They're currently ranked 7th, 23-6, but they have possibly the top catcher in all of college baseball, and as well in Daniel Jackson. I mean, a catcher who not only can hit for power, he leads college baseball, or he's second in NCAA baseball with 16 home runs, but he also hits for average. He's batting .417 as well. Stats that just jump out at you. I think he's the second rated catcher overall in as far as prospects go. Really good kid right there. 46 RBIs as well. So Georgia's a team I'm going to start keeping my eye on, as well as Georgia Tech, because they have the number 1 prospect in all of catchers.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100%. Georgia having a great year. Some dramatic flips I noticed as well in the rankings. You had Alabama, who swept, which one did they sweep here? I've got the scores right here. Alabama swept.
Auburn.
Who was it? Auburn. Yep.
Yep.
So Alabama jumping from not ranked up to 16, and Auburn dropping from 5 to 18. Pretty dramatic sweep there. And then Arkansas dropping from 4 to 17. I think they had some struggles. Yeah, they got swept by Florida. Florida also jumped up into the rankings. They jumped up to 21 from that. So some pretty massive swings back and forth. Oregon State went from 16 to 9 after their performance. Top 3 remain the same: UCLA, Texas, and Georgia Tech. And then, you've got Mississippi State and Georgia rounding out the top 5 there.
Those 2 Georgia schools are really good this year, Mike. And I think those are 2 teams to watch out for. And then let's talk about like USC and UCLA, the only 2 California teams in the top 25, and they're only Big Ten teams in the top 25 as well. SC winning 2 of 3 over the weekend, and then UCLA still doing what they're doing, remaining at number 1 overall at 25-2.
Yeah, SC 26-3, really putting on a show. And one thing I'm noticing, kind of the ACC really invading those ranks now with
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech and now North Carolina, Florida State, and Virginia all in the top 10, making it a lot less SEC dominant there. And then, of course, with Oregon State and UCLA, like you mentioned, a couple of West Coast teams, really much more interesting, much better mix than we've seen early on in the season and
Mm-hmm.
years past. So really exciting stuff in college baseball. Still a long way to go, of course. But yeah, really, really great stuff there. And now kicking over to the women's ranks, where we had a couple of dramatic performances this past weekend. One that stood out to me, Ole Miss taking 2 of 3 from Tennessee, a
Yeah.
team that we talked highly of. We may or may not have infected Tennessee with the bullpen bulletin jinx. I do apologize.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, we gave them props, and now they have now have a grand total of 5 losses. They have not updated their rankings. I believe that update comes out like Tuesday morning, I think, or something, when they update the
Uh,
softball rankings. So they update the baseball rankings, I believe, on Mondays, but softball seems to update on Tuesdays. So those were usually a little bit delayed on, but that was a dramatic one. Texas taking 2 of 3 in a
mm-hmm.
ranked matchup against Texas A&M was big for them. What were some of the matchups you saw this past weekend that were
Nebraska.
intriguing?
Nebraska and UCLA was a really good matchup as
Mhm.
well. Nebraska taking 2 of 3 at home against the Lady Bruins in that one. Arkansas, Florida, another matchup of 2 top 10 teams. Arkansas winning 2 of 3. Florida, with that loss, do they drop down in the rankings? Who's your new number one? Does Texas stay at number one, Mike, or do you have another team that you think could slide into that number one slot right now?
Think they would be justified in Texas Tech
Texas
jumping
Tech,
up to that one spot after
yeah,
their sweep. I think you could make that argument. Florida losing 2 of 3, they were number 3. I don't think you can make that argument. And then Tennessee losing their matchup, I don't think you can make the argument there. So I don't think
yeah,
Texas drops far at all. In fact, they might even make the argument, because it was against a ranked Texas A&M team, that they don't even drop them at all. They just leave it kind of as is. Oklahoma taking 2 of 3 against LSU. Maybe they make an argument for bumping up a spot over Tennessee, or maybe even 2 spots over Florida as well. One team I'm really curious to see how they rank is going to be, and again, going back to my alma mater, Florida State.
mm-hmm.
They were 28-4 after last week's rankings. They won 4 games. They swept Clemson. So now they're sitting there at 32-4. If
Yeah.
you're comparing, records to records, Arkansas 30-5, Tennessee at 30-5. So be really interested with in UCLA losing 2 of 3 to Nebraska. They were number 8. Do you make that argument that they make that jump? Where I'm looking for, and Arkansas probably stays ahead because of beating Florida, but some really interesting ranking
Yeah.
decisions for them to make.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Texas Tech probably leaps Texas, and they just switch from 1 being 2 and 2 being 1. I think that's what we're going to see there. Talking about really good, records right now. Grand Canyon at 36-2. They're 9-0 in the Mountain West. Of course, the
Yep.
Mountain West doesn't have the same kind of talent as the Big 10 or the Big 12 or the SEC. But that's still, you still have to win your games. And,
Right.
they swept Utah State over the weekend. So Grand Canyon could be a team to keep an eye on as we get later into the women's softball season.
Yeah, another team, also another ACC team, Virginia, swept Pitt and won 4 games this past week. They are now sitting at 31-3. So some really interesting teams coming up in the ranks there for college softball. It's going to be really interesting. By the way, Tennessee's ERA has now officially increased to over 1. It is now up to a 1.02.
Yeah, I
So
know.
that basically means that their season's over. They're done. They might as well bow out now. But it's funny looking at it, especially in college softball. Some of these numbers are just, they're video game-esque. there are three players. Aaliyah Rudd out of Robert Morris, Mariah Poehler out of Purdue, and Issa Torres out of Florida State, all batting 600.
Yeah.
600.
All batting over 600.
And this is we're through 35-ish games for these teams. It's some of the numbers are just absolutely astounding. And then pitching, there are four pitchers. Maya Johnson, who's actually, we actually talked about Maya Johnson a lot last year. I believe she was the one who was just, completely and utterly dominant in college softball. She's got a .56 ERA. It's like, okay, cool. She gives up one run every 17 innings, and
right. Yeah.
Why not one run every 20 innings, Maya? What are you doing out there?
No, yeah. She's holding the fort. The Tennessee still has two pitchers in the top 5 with sub 1 ERAs as well. So
yeah, and then 3 pitchers in the top 10 as well. They have a third one not too far behind. And then you have teams like Oklahoma, whose team batting average is 429. The whole team, not just one player. The whole dang team's batting 429. That's just absurd. But that's one of the fun things about college softball. I gotta say, is some of the ridiculous stats that some of these players, when they get on these hot streaks, and college baseball too, some of the numbers can get pretty ridiculous there as well. Now we come to the end of our show with the Around the Diamond segment, and pretty obvious topic to talk about with, of course, opening weekend being the newest addition to the MLB landscape, the ABS, the automatic ball strike system. Not a lot of widespread controversy, a couple of controversial incidents, including an ejection actually in the Orioles Twins game yesterday.
I saw that one.
Yeah, now that did not have to do with the actual call itself. What the manager, Derek Shelton of the Twins, was arguing was that the pitcher, who was Ryan Helsley, closer, did not think that Helsley got his challenge in the allotted time, which I think is only 3 seconds they have to challenge it. Now, it was a really weird thing, and I don't know if Shelton would have seen this from his angle, but when Helsley goes to challenge, he tapped the side of his head first. Which again, Shelton wouldn't have seen from his angle. That part he did instantly, and then the part that Shelton probably saw was the part where he went back and he tapped the top of his hat, kind of.
And it was a delayed tap. Yeah. No, I did go back and.
So I know you're supposed to tap the top, not the side. I don't know if that's specific in the rule or if you just have to tap your cap. That's a little bit of probably a weird gray area that will get worked out. I do know I saw in spring training guys who didn't tap in fast enough. Or the other thing, which I think there was a controversy in who did the challenge. There was a player, I forget. There was a player who the pitch came in. It was a 3-2 count. They thought it was a ball. They started jogging to first base as the umpire was making the strike call, and then they stopped and challenged it. Now, there's a rule that you cannot make an action before you challenge. But in that case, again, entering the gray territory, because anytime you make a rule, there's going to be a gray loophole.
In that case, I thought the umpire did not allow the player, the batter, to make that challenge, and they said he didn't do it in time, which didn't make any sense to me because it was a delayed call on the strike 3.
Right.
And
now the incident I saw, they did allow the challenge.
Okay.
What I saw, I forget. It's a well-known player too, and I can't believe I'm blanking on who it was. Adam Karnick in the chat. If you know the name, type it in there. He also pointed out CB Buckner.
Oh yeah, CB Buckner. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah. So go ahead and talk about we'll call the greatest ump in the league, CB Buckner.
Without Angel Hernandez in the league, without Angel in the league, CB's got to be the worst one still in there. And he was not only was he bad at 75% overturn rate in his first game, getting 6 of those 8 calls overturned. And that wasn't even the biggest of all of them. It happened in the 9th inning. It was the Red Sox. Trevor Story was up, checked his swing on a pitch in the dirt. CB Buckner rang him up without even asking for an appeal from the first base umpire, whether or not he went around or not. That then got Story upset. Alex Cora comes out of the dugout and, he starts arguing that. Just a bad day overall. And that's the kind of thing I thought that the ABS would kind of eliminate or make better are the judgment calls by the umpires. I think they need to be scrutinized, and I think they need to be held accountable with calls that are that bad in a game. I understand you blow maybe 1 or 2, but that many, and then that success rate of them being challenged and overturned, we need to start looking at these umpires and saying, hey, you're not fit to call a game anymore.
Right.
What's the deal?
Yeah, no, 100%. What I noticed, and I think I saw, somebody shared the numbers. I think there were 100 and I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head, like maybe 110-ish ABS challenges in opening weekend, which when you consider that there were 15 series, every team played 3 to 4 games, there was like 45, 50-ish games. You're talking maybe about 2.5 challenges a game. So it wasn't an egregious number. Of course, obviously there were some skews like the CB Buckner challenge. But somebody, and I think it was Adam Karnick actually in our group chat, noted that, one of the benefits of that is, yes, there was a controversy with CB Buckner and making the challenges. Was it Eugenio Suarez that had challenges in the 9th inning? The benefit is that, Suarez probably argues those calls and gets tossed.
Oh, yeah, most likely.
Challenge them, which he was able to do and able to get them overturned. So that's one benefit that teams will have is, how many people got ejected arguing balls and strikes last year who now don't necessarily have to get ejected because you have the ABS system. There have been a couple of fun little wrinkles. There was one incident, I think it was in it might have been in that same Twins-Orioles game where the Twins had run out of challenges. They had failed to get them. And so then later on in the game, and this is why you got to be careful with them and strategic, because later on in the game, there was a missed strike call to Gunnar Henderson that led to a walk. If they had been able to challenge, would have gotten it overturned and maybe changed the inning. So there's that little.
I saw that in the game last night. Brian Rocchio of the Guardians challenged a 3-2 pitch that was called a strike, ended up being ball 4. He ends up scoring a run, and the Guardians scored some runs in that inning to force extra innings. So that was huge. As far as the numbers go, 175 total challenges, 94 were overturned, 81 upheld, which was a 53.7% overturn rate. So just over 50%.
Yep. And I feel like I noted pitchers challenging seem to have the least amount of success. Is that what you saw in the numbers as well? Like, I feel like pitchers were under 50%. For the pitcher. Obviously you probably have a different you have that perspective, what you're throwing and everything, and where it's located. But we see a lot of more, with the catchers. But I just hope that this really, comes down to, the umpires being a little bit better about things and communicating, maybe giving an extra second of time. Maybe that's something that they can discuss in the off season, the players meetings and stuff like that is, a hard 3 seconds or whatever it is to give them time to challenge. And the thing is too, you only get 2 challenges. If you keep winning the challenges, you can continue to use them. But once you lose, you're done.
And,
Right.
that could be huge in a crucial moment, just like the one you mentioned.
Yep, absolutely. And I did notice, I mean, at least in the Yankees Giants opening game, there were a couple of calls, there were a couple of pitches that were missed, and the players, maybe the situation wasn't critical. It was a 1-0 count in the third inning with one out and none on.
Yeah.
Like,
You got
that's
to,
not the situation where you challenge that, where you necessarily worry about it. So it does look like team players were strategic to a certain extent. They were wise to know when to use it. There were some funny moments as well. I forget the hitter, but there was a pitch. It was like a 2-2 count. The hitter, it was a right-handed hitter, and the pitch, he kind of like had to recoil back because he thought it was super inside. Got called a strike, and he was like, "No, there's no way that was a strike." Challenged it and actually
just like a frat.
of the zone. So he was like, "Oh, okay." So there were a couple of funny moments as well. There were also, of course, some challenges where the pitch was called a strike and they challenge, and it's like, dude, it was 2 inches off of the plate. So that
Yeah.
really, I don't. It's eliminating some of the like, oh, yes, that pitch was called a ball and it's touching the strike zone by like just the slightest sliver. Like, some people are saying, those aren't the calls that need to be overturned. But if they're you're gonna have to draw the line somewhere. So,
Well, Mike, I have a question for you. Now, if you're a batter, you should just be in there in the box, focused on pitches in the zone. I don't think you really should be swinging on anything outside of the zone. I think we're going to see the players be a lot more disciplined at the plate because they know that it's shrunken more to to favor the hitters now, right? You're not going to get those gray calls that were judgment on the outside edges or above or below the knees. I think this is going to help the hitters dial in a little bit better as well. At least I would think that would be the case. And maybe, some of those guys that were more free swingers have a better eye up at the plate.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Brian Francione jumping in at the very last minute, saying not looking good for the Sox. No, it's a little bit of a rough start for them, but we'll see if they can pick it up. It's a long season. And then Adam Karnick with one last question. Will this lead to umpires getting being allowed tiered? Is he meant to? Is he tied or tiered? I don't know if that was a misspelling. See some umpires being allowed behind the plate. So I guess, Adam's question is, do we think that this will lead to some umpires, if their performance is poor enough, being relegated to field duty only as opposed to being the head umpire behind the plate? I think that's a like multi-year evolution of potentially of the system.
Yeah. Continue to watch what's happening in the minor leagues because they're the ones that are testing all of these systems out before going to an Elsinore Storm game last year. They already had ABS in play, and it worked out. And it's instant. They get that call instantly. It's not like an NHL call where they have to go to Toronto to the war room and then they have to review the tape and all this stuff. No, it's within an instant that they get this done. So with that mixed with now the pitch clock, they've sped up the game, and I think we're making improvements in the right direction.
Agreed, 100%. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Adam and Brian jumping in the chat room. Any final thoughts, Freddie, before we sign off for the week?
No final thoughts. I'm going to try to watch a little bit more baseball this week. I know we had everything going on. We had, hockey's heating up, like you said, and we had NCAA tournament action this weekend, which took away a little bit of my time as well. But I will focus more on the games, especially the night games. I like to relax and turn on a game. Doesn't matter who it is, just as long as something's on TV.
Yeah, I'm like that as well. I had family in town, and on Wednesday night, and I said that the game is going on Netflix, and I told them it was Yankees Giants, and they're like, "Oh, we don't want to watch that." I was like, "It's baseball. I will watch Rockies White Sox for all.
Right.
It is baseball that is on the TV." Well, again, thank you all for tuning in. Reminder, if you are a fan of the show, you can follow us on X at IESR_DMV for myself and for Freddie at FreddieB_sports. We'll be back next week to talk more baseball, probably some more controversial ABS stuff. And who knows, maybe a couple of other headlines will make their way into the fold. But for now, this has been Freddie B and Mike Patt for the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Good night.